Welcome. I'm your host, Darren Green, and you're listening to another episode of NJCU In. This is a podcast where I talk to faculty, staff, and students for 10 minutes to talk about that NJCU experience. Today, I'll be chatting with media arts student Sally Deering. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So how's the semester been so far? We're in the third week.
It's actually been very interesting because I'm actually finishing up this December. I'm getting my degree in December in media arts, and so I already have senioritis. I had senioritis before I even started my semester.
Oh, Lord.
So right now I'm just adjusting to my classes and things like that. So it's a little rough right now, but I'll get used to it.
Oh, that's good. That's good that you're almost on your way out.
I know. It took me 4.5 years because I started at Hudson County Community, and I got my associates there. But I did 5 semesters there because my first semester I had my head up my wazoo. I was just taking classes that I wanted to take, and then I didn't realize that they had to add up to something.
Yep.
So but I'm here for 4 semesters, and this is my last 4, the 4th one. So
how's media arts? I know you're taking that with.
I tell you, this is a terrific program, and I highly recommend media arts to anybody who's interested in film or television or radio. I came here, I have a very strong theater background and journalism background, but I knew that newspapers were dying, sort of, the print anyway, and everything is now news on the phone, news on the videos, and I really always was very interested in film and video, and I thought, let me up my skill set and take classes and tell stories visually rather than just by words, because that's really the changeover in media arts. I learned that you need to tell stories with pictures and not rely on the words so much as you rely on the image.
Yes.
And that's been it's been a terrific professors there. The program is just fantastic.
Yeah, we do have good professors.
You're
here.
A media arts student too, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. What do you think about the program?
I think the program is good.
Are you focusing more on film or TV, or have you radio?
Radio and some sort of sound production. I'm kind of interested in. I'm taking a radio production class myself.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's interesting about sound. Whenever I did I have like a YouTube channel now. I have my own Sally Deering YouTube channel, which so does 20,000 million other people. But what I never really thought about sound until recently. Now I'm in a sound post-production course. But I realized so much of when you start to create a story, when you start to either write it or you have to start thinking about the sound immediately. And I have a few pieces that I did that I really didn't do that, and I regret that.
So I think you kind of touched bases with this a little bit, like with this new technology coming out and the rise of social media. Do you think media has gotten better over the years? Or?
Honestly, to be frank, there's nothing like picking up the New York Times, holding it in your hands, getting the ink on your fingers, and trusting the story that you're reading. Because I think right now media is a little effed up because we're mistaking opinion for fact.
Yeah.
If I look on my phone, I counted the other day, there were 140 stories, news stories from that day on my phone. And I said, I can't read all this.
Yeah.
But so I had to sort it out. And I sorted it out by, what's all this opinion? And rules of the game are by, you have to get both sides of the story. You have to get your facts straight.
Yeah.
You have to work with facts to begin with. And now with all this BS about fake news, it's really frustrating. I think. What am I reading? Is it true?
Yeah.
Is it truth?
Or
is it truth-based? Or somebody's opinion? Or somebody who wants to screw me up about news, who wants to put a false story out there and present it as if it's truth. There's a lot of that too. So honestly, I think it's gotten very, very confusing for just, Joe and Jane Schmo who need to read a story.
I will say, like, far as news is concerned, when you're watching the news, it's kind of hard to decipher what is correct because we have different political views.
Well, that's what's happened now, and it never was that way. It was an even playing field. I'm not saying everybody was honest and upfront about things, but the playing field was a little bit more even, and the truth mattered before. For some reason, the truth doesn't matter anymore. I don't want to say it doesn't matter anymore. It does matter to some people. It matters to me, and I'm sure it matters to you.
Yes.
But to a lot of people, it's not so much the truth as it is the headline. People just want to confuse you into, so that you'll accept what they say without any base for it, without any real fact. Mm-hmm. They'd rather just swirl your mind around so that they get you to their side. I see this a lot now, and it's for me, it's very frustrating to sort out the truth. That's why I go to the New York Times, places that I trust, that I believe are trustworthy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that I don't trust.
I can believe that. I can understand that. So you were a former newspaper columnist and reporter. Can you talk about that experience? What did you do? How did you like it?
It's funny. I started out at the Hudson Reporter, worked for the Hoboken Reporter. I worked as a columnist. Then I got hired as a newspaper reporter, features writer. Mm-hmm. Then I got picked up at the Jersey Journal, which I was there for about 13 years. And that's where I was a columnist. And I could write about anything I really wanted to write about. And being a feminist, I sort of leaned towards stories that relate to women.
Yeah.
And favor women's perspectives because I'm a woman and I have a woman's perspective. So it kind of fits. And then I also was a reporter and covered a lot of things. Like I covered 9/11. I still think about that, But I was a reporter that day. Yes, especially just recently. It was just last Wednesday was the anniversary. And so there was like some things that really affected me as a reporter that I lived through. But it was a great job. I loved working in the newsroom. There's something about a newsroom that's very exciting. In fact, someone once said working in a newsroom, a newspaper office, a newsroom is like getting a master's degree. Yeah. And back in the day, this was a wonderful thing about the Jersey Journal, and I think this is pretty much in any newspaper. If a reporter goes out and gets a lot of things, editor says, okay, go cover this story, and you go out and you come back and you have a lot of quotes and you have ideas for a story, but you're still not sure what your story's about. Mm-hmm. Go to another reporter and say, interview me. Yeah. So the other reporter will go, okay, well, all right, what's the most important thing that happened to you today? What was the most important thing that was said? What really stuck out to you? And then you answer those questions and you realize, okay, those are the most important things that I need to tell my readers. Mm-hmm. Those are the most important things that people want to know about. So there was just something beautiful about that newsroom in that everybody shared ideas. You've got to cover your community. Mm-hmm. And they always say that a newspaper is holds a mirror up to its community and says, this is who you are. And I used to think back in the day, I used to say, we've got all these sports stories and things, but that was so important. Yeah. It's important to see the kids from the high school and what they're doing, and it's important for their families to see what their kids are doing. Mm-hmm. It's important to know what your politicians are doing. And unfortunately now, there's very few newspapers that are covering politics, local politics, and, somebody's got to be accountable. Yeah. And if you don't have a reporter chasing you down and say, hey, why did you say that? Or why did you do that? Or why did you put the money into that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you're not accountable to anybody. And it's easy for things to get a little corrupt. And I think that's why I think newspapers, I hope they come back. I mean, I love the New York Times because it's holding on, and I think circulation has gotten even better. There's a dark world.
But I think people now are they move past reading. They want to see it. They want to hear it. And I think that's where the direction is going.
Well, I think that's
with the internet.
Yes, I totally agree with you that because of these phones, we have to be very careful. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little older. I'm an older student. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going back to school. I dropped out in the 70s when I was at Ramapo because I had to work. Mm-hmm. And now here I am again, finally getting that degree. But what I've noticed is that the media, these phones, we're so into this phone that we're losing our own identity. We're losing our human identity. We're putting out an identity that's maybe not the real identity of who we are. And then when somebody comes up to you in real life and says, hey, how you doing? A lot of people don't know what to say. Yeah. They're caught they don't know. They can't even hold a conversation, or they can't even know how to talk or share their ideas or views, but they can do it in their phone.
They can do it on their phone.
And this worries me. And on some level it worries me because I think we're losing our humanity, losing our compassion. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that this country is allowing children to be locked up in cages, and we're really not fighting about it. Nobody's protesting it. We've got, thank God for the ACLU to fight against it. But really, we have lost a lot of our humanity, being replaced by this identity, replaced by our relationships on the phone, and all the likes and being my friend and being my follower, and there's a fakeness to this.
Just for clicks and just notoriety and everything.
There was this very big special on about the like generation, and this is the like generation, where everything's about the likes, and the more likes you have, that you feel like it empowers you in some way, whereas that's a false thing. Who gives a crap about how many likes you have? I had a professor who said to me, Sally, there's a lot of humanity in your films and your videos. And yes, because it's something that means a lot to me, to make sure to keep that humanity going, to make a connection.
Okay, so thank you for being on NJCU In 10. We went over a little bit.
Oh, sorry, but that's usually what I do.
But that's fine. That's fine. I loved your talking about the media and how it has changed and your take on that situation. That's it for this episode. Okay. Until next time, I'm your host, Darren Green, and this is NJCU In 10 signing out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.